Hello, and welcome to another edition of Crown Heritage Training. Today we're going to be discussing our aluminum railing system that's used in conjunction with our horizontal cable rail. Specifically, we want to take a look at the Series 600 rail, which is considered a post-to-post handrail, and we want to look at the installation applications of both a level run as well as on a rake. The first thing we want to look at is a level installation of the Series 600 rail. We offer a pre-cut installation block that goes inside of the Series 600 rail that mounts to the post for an easy installation. Location of where this installation block goes will be dependent upon what your local building code is for either a level or for a rake rail height. I've marked the location of where I want the top of my installation block to be. These posts have 4 lines in them to help center up this installation block on the post. Then I'm going to use these self-tapping screws to install into the post. I've got my installation block installed. My next step is to install the handrail to the installation block using self-tapping screws provided by Crown Heritage. The handrail has got a groove down each side of the rail that helps locate where to start that self-tapping screw. Once I've installed my railing to my installation block on one end, I can go to the next end or to other consecutive posts on the stairway or on the deck. The last thing that I'll make mention of is the cap that goes in the top of this post for decorative purposes once you're finished with the installation. Next, we're going to take a look at installing the 600 rail on a rake. Now that we've seen how to install it on a level run, let's talk about an angled or a rake installation. The pre-cut connector blocks or installation block, as I referred to them earlier, yes, you can use that for an angled installation, but we feel like you get a much better and safer installation using this 12-inch connector block where that you can trim it to the correct angle and length that you need for a proper installation. To determine what my angle is for my rail cut, that's going to come straight from whatever the rake is of the steps or the stairway. So once I've determined that, I can cut my rail as well as my installation block. Once I've got the angle cut on my installation block, I want to come back 1 inch from the top of that block and cut it flush, and that'll make it very easy to install onto the post. I've got my installation block cut to length, and I'm going to install it on my post. I'll always want to remember to put my angled side against the post, and although it has self-tapping screws to install it with, in doing it on an angle, we recommend that you pre-drill both of these holes prior to putting the screws in. It'll just make the installation go a little bit quicker. Just like we did with the level rail, we're going to do the same on the rake rail. Once we get the installation block mounted and our rail on top of it, we're going to put self-tapping screws on both sides underneath the body part of the handrail. And again, it's grooved, and it'll help you line up that self-tapping screw for installation into that block we've installed. One other thing that we'd like to point out is if you're doing this on a rake or on a long run and want to put an intermediate post somewhere along the way, in order to comply with code to keep it continuous rail, you're going to have to use one of these over the post adapters. So this just sits down inside of the post. If you want to, you can use one of the short self-tapping screws from either side to go into this. Then you're going to mount your 600 series rail on top of it with those same screws. If you're installing this on a level run, you've got plenty of distance here on this adapter where when I put my rail on top of it, it'll go into it. Now, if I'm using it on a rake, depending upon the angle of my stairway, determines on whether I may have to cut this or not. I should have, in most instances, enough meat here to where I can still get my self-tapping screw into the side of it. Let's review what we've talked about today. We're talking about the Series 600 rail that's an inside the post or a post-to-post rail installation. We have the pre-cut installation block for a level installation, or we have the 12-inch connector block that can safely be cut on a chop saw to the correct angle so that I can get multiples out of one 12-inch bar for my rake rail installation. If I'm going to use an intermediate post, whether it's on a level run or on a rake, I'm going to need to trim it to the appropriate length and then use this over the post connector block in conjunction with it so that my rail can pass either on a level run or it will install at an angle. Please note that there may be an installation where I do have to trim some of this to get the correct angle. At that point, my railing should be installed, and I can move from there to installing my horizontal cable rail onto the stairway. Thank you for taking time with us here today.